What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a match from one of the most recent RMC locals. This is going to be between Gabumon on the left and Security Control on the right. Now, both of these players are qualified for the US Nationals, so this is a matchup that the both of them will most likely be seeing going into the National Championship. So getting some decent testing in going into the last week of testing for US Nationals. Now, Searcher Gabu is going to go ahead and come out and with a staple of this Gabumon, putting 5 cards to the bottom, which is a bit unfortunate. And then GeoGreymon is going to be able to come out and just be able to pop the Gabumon. Now, these cards are going to be a big threat in the matchup because the GeoGreymons and the Corgimons can be sent with Tactical Retreat back into the security stack to make it so that you can recover one, and when that recovery check happens, you can go ahead and get a Digimon back out. So we're going to go ahead and see the swing over the Gabumon with the GeoGreymon, and then the Tactical Retreat going back on top of the security stack. Now, something that was interesting to see was that with the Davis, they took the Bond of Friendship instead of the Lobomon. Normally, when you're searching off of those type of cards, you do want to take the Lobomon because it's going to be a card that's going to be more impactful in the later of the game. With the Bond of Friendship, you're usually only playing one, sometimes maybe two in this matchup, and you have a lot of time to search for them. As to where with the Lobomons, you're going to a lot more commonly going to be able to swing in with a lot of Lobomons and Tamers in one turn. I'm going to go ahead and play the mat out, but we do have Nikaku in Raising now, so I'm not going to be able to go ahead and get that boost. Going to play Reinforced Memory Boost, hitting Wyvern's Breath and Ultimate Flare, two very powerful checks. So getting a lot of variety there in what you want to be able to choose to go on top. The Ultimate Flare does make a lot of sense because you can clear wide boards if they have multiple Gabumons, or if they want to play something else. Once again here, playing a Davis and taking the Octo over the Kendo with the hybrids. So not even wanting to go for the hybrids in multiple turns package, it looks like. Although I do believe that's usually better from my experience, but we're gonna have to see how it plays out. With the Octo in hand now, you can go on top of the EX1 Gabu, which is going to allow you to get extra search. The Kakumon here does have the EX1 Gabu underneath it as well, so you get to draw with Upa and search with Gabumon, and you can go ahead and swing over this Magna, but we're going to decide to go swing security. So now the threat of the Sakuyamon or the Serafimon is live to go on top of this Magna Angemon. Seeing that they're choosing to go security a bit more, wanting to get more aggressive than kind of slowing down the game plan of the Security Control player, they're going to go ahead and reinforce up, and then there's the Serafi, so they're going to be able to recover one and then going to be able to swing 2 checks into security if they choose to, unless they want to go in over the Digimon. But they are going to swing in, hit Ice Ball, Hammer Spark, so very swiftly ending the turn and putting it back onto the Gabumon's player turn. Now, we did see with the EX1 Gabu that they also put 2 Kendos to the bottom of the deck. So we know 3 Kendos are at the bottom and 1 Lobomon also went to the bottom. So the amount of hybrids that can come out is really low right now until you kind of cycle through the deck. But being able to play out a third mat is going to help a lot. Going to be able to go next turn and draw 3 cards, which is going to help you cycle a lot. And then the Cocytus Breath coming out to bounce back the Serafimon, which is always nice. You want to be able to get that card off of the board as soon as possible. But now they had just enough memory to where they can play the Magna Angemon. With the Magna Angemon coming out and being able to go into the Sakuyamon, now this Gabumon's going to have security attack -3, and we did just use a Cocytus Breath, so the chances of the Sakuyamon leaving the board are a lot lower. You could potentially have another Cocytus Breath to bounce it back, and if you do, that would be very powerful, because then you could swing with the Octomon over the GeoGreymon, be able to get the Gabumon check, or the Gabumon inheritable check, and then you'd be able to swing in with the Gabumon as well and potentially get a draw with the Upamon. So we're going to see what happens here. Going to reveal nothing hit off of there, but there's not too many things that you're looking for. Once again, swinging into security, so wanting to go for the offense, not too worried about the GeoGreymon. It looks like you could have swung over it there with the Howling being on the Sakuya, so you wouldn't be able to have any attacks next turn, but your opponent does have a black Tamer on board, which means that things like Ultimate Flare and Gwalchwarmer are going to be live, so any of these Digimon are looking to be potentially deleted later on. So going to get some offensive value and be able to go into security. Going to go into a Lobomon now, and looks like they're choosing to trade into the GeoGrey, getting the Upamon and the Gabumon swings off, but very interesting that decided to go for that instead of swinging over with the Octomon and having the Digimon survive, but maybe wanted to just go through with the EX1 Gabu first to see what cards they got, try to cycle to see what they can get. 2 Hammer Sparks coming out, and then another Davis. Going to be able to grab a Kendo, and I wonder if that's gotten low enough to where we're cycling through the Kendo. The deck is starting to get a little low. With all of the Davis, EX1 Gabu, and Upamon swings that have come out, we have been able to cycle a lot, so there is a high chance that we are just getting back into those hybrids that were put on the bottom of the deck earlier. Going into the last egg, we just saw the Cocytus Breath drawn. I do believe there's only 2 in the deck, so if another Sakuyamon does come back out, or maybe a Seraphimon comes out, we are going to be able to bounce that, which is nice. Going to start going into some hybrids. Going into the Lobomon, I just saw the Kendogarurumon draw, so that does mean that we are cycling back through, and it looks like we're just going to start going in with hybrids. You can go on top of multiple of these Davises and not have it be that big of a deal, just because the Davises, you really only need 1 to get the memory gain. It's only the mats that are going to be able to give you extra value by having multiple of. But we're just going all the way in here. Howling going to be able to go up to 3, be able to play another Kendo and swing. This one's going to hit a Cordramon, so another Digimon coming out. But you have 2 security, so it's not that threatening as of right now. But the thing is your opponent has 2 Izijos, which means that they're going to gain 4 memory at the start of your turn. Everything on the board now can be deleted by a Gwalt Schwarmer, which we know is in hand because it was hit by the security check. But we're just going to go ahead and recover up. Tactical Retreat to put the Cordramon back on top, so yet another draw. And then the Salamon can also swing in if they want to get the check to potentially recover up to another security, and then you're going to go with the Gwalt Schwarmer anyway, so no matter what, the Salamon was going to go down and be able to recover. So I do think you could have swung in with the Salamon there. The worst thing that was going to happen was you were going to potentially hit something like a Hammer Spark or an Ice Wall, and you would have given your opponent a little bit more memory. But how it stands right now, they kind of went through and shredded all of the Tamers that they had last turn, trying to go in for game, but you were able to recover 2 back to a healthy amount and remove everything off the board. So now it looks like we're going for a Bond of Friendship swing, going to be able to swing, unsuspend, Iron Fisted Onslaught on the first check, so that is super rough. There aren't any of the Bushi or the anything with Rush on the security control end, so as of right now they aren't technically in trouble of being swung at for game. But if they go into a Salamon in raising here or play anything on board, then you are going to have to answer that. This Geogreymon is just enough of a threat to where if you don't have Howling or you don't Cocytus it, then it's going to be able to just swing in for game next turn. You can't put anything in raising and get mat value anymore because you ran out of eggs. So as of right now, this is looking fairly rough. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to get out of this. Obviously, they have the Cocytus to bounce it back, but if you bounce Cocytus back and don't put anything on the board, then you're not getting any pressure. You only have 2 Tamers left, which means that with the 2 security on the field, you don't have the attacks to be able to go in, and then Magnedramon's going to come out right there, and that's definitely going to seal it up. You don't have the cards to be able to get rid of the Magnedramon anymore, I don't believe, because the 2 Cocytus and 2 Howlings in the list are gone. No cards left in deck, so you're going to deck out no matter what, and then the Magnedramon does just threaten to be able to swing in, so security control going to be able to take that. There was a couple interesting choices from the Bond player, from my perspective, just not prioritizing the hybrids, but didn't matter, was able to cycle around anyway and get them, but had one big hybrid turn that didn't end up really working out, just losing a lot of your Tamers to then potentially get deleted by Gwalt Schwarmer wasn't the best, but I don't think it was necessarily the worst play because you could have potentially been able to go in and win the next turn, but with the way the things turned out, being able to recover up and then being able to Gwalt Schwarmer and then get an extra heal with the Salamon was just a little bit too much. Geogreymon going to be able to come out security, pop both the Digimon on board, and so now we're seeing the power of the Geogreymon. This list that I did build for the security control player on the right, I did call the anti-Bond of Friendship deck because I kind of tried to build the security control list with the best Bond of Friendship build that I could. So that way our security control players were in the best spot that they could be going into US Nationals, and these Geogreymons are a part of that. We can see how powerful it is, being able to delete the Digimon that swung in because of the battle, and then come out, get a free Digimon, and then on play delete the other Gabumon. Very, very powerful. And then the Seraphimon's going to be out here. Dave is putting 2 mats and an Ice Wall to the bottom there. That is insane. So now Seraphimon's going to be able to swing 2 checks. Actually, just 1 check this time, but would have potentially been able to swing 2 checks. Seraphimon, another Digimon that is extremely powerful in this matchup because you're able to recover 1 when Digivolving on top of your Magnedramon, which also recovered, and then you're able to swing 2 checks. And being able to swing 2 checks, if you do survive and be able to swing 2 checks again, you usually can outpace the Gabumon player. And so Seraphimon being a very crucial card in the matchup, alongside the Geogreys and a lot of the other techs. The Sorajo, also a card that's going to be able to put in a lot of work next to the Izijo, because with Gabumon, it's going to be very hard for you to play around both Izijo and Sorajo on the board without giving your opponent a lot of memory. We are just going to go and see a pass here, potentially not wanting to give them any more memory. So now that the Wyvern's Breath comes out, you go all the way up to 5, and then you're able to gain 2, draw 2 with the mats, which is good because you want to start cycling out. The only downside is we did put 2 mats to the bottom of the deck, which is actually be a very big deal because without those tamers, you're not going to be able to go for as many hybrids, and specifically the mats, you're not going to be able to get as much draw. And versus this specific security control deck, you really want to be going as fast as possible, getting as much search as possible, so that way you can start to just get the cards that you need to win. You can get the bond when you need it, you can get the specific Gabumons that you need, and you can also go ahead and get the hybrids that you need to be able to go for that game-winning turn, where you go for 3 or 4 hybrids in a turn, usually paired next to a bond. But we'll see what we have here. The GeoGreymon coming back out. As of right now, just passing the turn, I do see some Ice Walls in hand that I think you could potentially just use to put your opponent at 1, because as of right now, with just the Kendall on the board, you are technically playing around the Sworjo and the Izzy-Jo, which, like I said, you can't do as often, and there are 3 Ice Walls in the hand. So at this point, you could start to try put your opponent at 1 if possible. As of right now, it's not going to be as easy because you would need to play something for 3, and if it's a rookie, then you'll be able to give them the Izzy-Jo and the Sworjo memory. But if you played something like a Tamer there to put them at 1, you are looking pretty good. But keep passing, putting the opponent at 3, which is giving them more and more memory to be able to go in. Gonna hit the Izzy off the recovery, which means that they are now, no matter what, gonna be able to not be choked. So that idea of putting them at 1 kind of went out the window right there. And then the Cordramon that we did see get put on top with the Reinforce is gonna come out, draw 2 cards, and give the security control player another Digimon on board to have a bunch of pressure with. Going in there and not taking the Madoki, which is interesting to me because Madoki in the specific matchup does seem like it could be pretty good. No matter what here, you're going to be playing into the Izzy-Jo. Madoki was going to be able to stop the Reinforced Memory Boost, but to be fair, it is also going to play into the Sworjo, so you're stopping a 3 memory gain by giving your opponent 2 memory, which is, again, is why the Sworjo in this matchup is so good. When building this list, I wanted to make sure to be able to put in at least 1 Sworjo because the combination of the 2 Tamers is just so hard to play around as Gabumon to make it so your opponent doesn't get the memory gain, that it's just really, really potent. So we're going to be seeing that here. It makes you play really awkwardly if you don't want to give your opponent a lot of memory, especially with the Reinforced Memory Boost on the board. Your opponent's going to be able to just gain so much memory no matter what. And as of right now, it's looking like the security control player is starting to seal this up. They can potentially just go for game this turn. We did see the double ice wall coming out, which means that you're going to have to pay 4 to attack, but you can go ahead and bump up to 6 with the Reinforce. You can swing, pay 4, go down to 2. And as long as this isn't something like Kikaitis Breath to get rid of the Cordramon, you're going to be able to go in for game. And there it was. So the anti-bond security control definitely coming through and showing the power of the GeoGreymons coming out with the tactical retreats, the Seraphimon coming out, and just all of the random techs that come together to just make this deck so strong. The Govelt Schwarmer going to be something that's a very strong presence that makes you play very weird. And then once again, the Sworjo and the Izzy-Jo put together does make it very awkward for your opponent to make a lot of plays. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be bringing you a bunch of EX1 content this next week going into North America Nationals. And if you would like some more content, I will be streaming on Twitch very often, so be sure to follow me on Twitch with the link down below. But with that being said, I hope you have a great day. Peace out.